All right, let's see how you guys did on number one and number two. All right, so looking at 1A, we have a 45, 45, 90 triangle. So both legs or the sides opposite from 45 are going to be labeled n. The hypotenuse is going to be n times the square root of 2. So looking here, they gave us one of the legs as 9, so we know that n is 9. So if we're looking to solve for h here, we can go ahead and plug that 9 in for n, or just take the 9 and multiply it by root 2. However you look at it, h is going to be 9 root 2. Nothing can be simplified from there. We are good to go. Looking at part B, so this time around, they gave us another leg, but you might notice we have a radical involved already. Now it's going to be a small adjustment, and it shouldn't be too big of a jump for you guys. Anyways, it's another 45, 45, 90. So that means we have n for both of the legs, the sides opposite from 45. We're going to label the hypotenuse n root 2, so the value of the leg times root 2. All right, so we take our leg 2 root 2, and remember, if 2 root 2 is equal to n, we're going to multiply 2 root 2 times another root 2. So we take our leg 2 root 2 and we're multiplying it by another root 2. So make sure you include both because there's already one involved, and then we have to multiply by root 2 because it's a hypotenuse. So root 2 times root 2 is going to be 2. Remember, we have our shortcut there because root 2 times root 2 is the square root of 4, which we know is 2. Anyways, so we still have that 2 from the outside multiplied by the new 2 that we just got. So x is going to be 4 here. So we have a hypotenuse of 4. All right, looking at number 2. So on this one, you might notice they gave us the three sides. We have x, x, and 12. So they gave us an isosceles triangle, and any right isosceles triangle is going to be a 45, 45, 90. Because we know that these two angles opposite from the x's are going to be congruent to each other. The base angles there, there's only 90 degrees left after that 90 is taken from the 180, so it has to be 45 each here and here. Or you can think of it as, the isosceles triangle theorem there. Anyways, so now that we know we have a 45, 45, 90, they gave us the hypotenuse this time instead of a leg. We're looking for the legs. They're both labeled x. The hypotenuse they gave us is 12. So we still label the legs as equal to n as part of our ratio, and we have the hypotenuse equal to n root 2. So we have 12 equals n root 2. So to solve that, we're going to start off by dividing by root 2 on both sides. Cancels here. It ends up in the denominator here. But remember, we have to rationalize the denominator. We're not allowed to have a radical in the denominator. So we're going to multiply by that radical over itself. So root 2 times root 2 in the denominator is going to give us 2. 12 times root 2, they're just going to be glued together by multiplication, so we have 12 root 2. Now, so we have to reduce this. We can't simplify the radical. Root 2 is all set there, but we do have 12 over 2 here. So 12 divided by 2 gives us 6. So n is going to be equal to 6 root 2. And in this case, I just forgot to label it. We're looking for x, so x is 6 root 2. All right, so let's go ahead and try 3 and 4.